Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Tonight is 6th of Jumad al-Ula, 1439. Chapter 50 starts with the verse, translation of the meaning in English. But when he gave them a salih, a good in every aspect child, they ascribed partners to him, Allah, in that which he has given to them.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وعلى من تبع هداهم إلى يوم الدين. Indeed, all praises due to Allah, and may peace and blessings be upon His Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. This chapter started with a verse, but maybe some of us will not know what is intended here by the chapter title, and what is intended here that the person, if he makes a name where he makes somebody the slave of other than the name of Allah, then he's committing shirk. If he means that whatever he's naming is a slave of that, whatever he had called that's beside Allah, he means that that thing is his God, then he's committed, of course, shirk across. If he means it, but if he does not mean it, so somebody's called Abd al-Nabi, lots of people call it, and they call it just because it's Abd al-Nabi, we say this is shirk al-alfaz. Shirk in what? Al-alfaz. Shirk in the wordings. And it is, some of the scholars say shirk asghar, and some of the scholars say the shirk which will oppose and negate the complete Tawheed. So now I repeat my words, which are very important. I said that the Abd al-Nabi, al-Nabi is not one of the names of Allah. Or Abdul Harith, al-Harith is not one of the names of Allah. Or Abdul Muttalib is not one of the names of Allah. Abdul Uzza, which is definitely, it is not one of the names of Allah, but it's a name of a false god. Now, if the person, he had said those names because he thought they are okay, and he did not mean that whatever is the slave of is to be equal to God, then he's making shirk in al-alfaz. Some of the scholars makes it shirk asghar, some of the scholars makes it shirk which is opposing the complete Tawheed, munafin li kamal al-Tawheed. And if the person, he meant that it is Abdul Nabi, that he is the worshipper of the Prophet, then he is committing major shirk. So that's what is meant by the whole verse in this ayah, in Surah Al-A'raf, verse 190. So let's just go to the verse and explain. My dear, come forward. Jazakallah khairan. And the brother's person, come forward. طيب. فَلَمَّا آتَاهُمَا صَالِحًا. Now this ayah, we need to explain it from the beginning. It's important. So, فَلَمَّا آتَاهُمَا صَالِحًا. Translate please the ayah.
Translation of the meaning. But when he gave a salih child, a good child in every aspect.
Right. This is the ayah which is mentioned now as a quotation here. And what he meant here, when he had gave both of them, let's suppose both of them or them? No, it's supposed to be both of them. Because them in English it means 2, 3, 4. Nice, both of them. So when you say both, it's that too. So that's not right translation. فَلَمَّا آتَاهُمَا صَالِحًا. When Allah had given both of them صالحًا, righteous son, then they made partners in what they had been given. Yes? So that is the correct translation. Now, we come to the ayat which are before this ayah. Right. The ayat before this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, هُوَ الَّذِي خَلَقَكُم مِّن نَفْسٍ وَاحِدَةٍ. Sorry, my laptop is just frozen. I don't know why. There isn't nothing. 1 second. Right. Yep. Got it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says from the beginning, verse 189, هو الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة. It is He, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who had created you from nafs wahida, a single soul. Now, a single soul here, what does that mean? We find two interpretations for this. In nafs wahida, first interpretation is from Adam. And then the following word will be جعل منها زوجها, that is Hawa, because he made the spouse of it. وجعل منها زوجها, and he made from that soul, which is Adam, Hawa. So Hawa, she was created from where? Adam. So if we're going to give a relationship between Adam and Hawa from the beginning, he's her father. But they became what? Zawj, spouse. If we're going to give to each birth of Hawa to each other when they're married, they're brothers and sisters. But they are married to each other because there will be no offspring. So, my phone is really close, I don't know why. Right, so we say here, basically, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the first interpretation is min nafs wahida, means from Adam, he made her spouse, is from Hawa. Second interpretation, min nafs wahida, meaning from, that is a human being. Min nafs wahida means it's a human being. So we're talking about a human being. And he made from that human being the spouse of it. And our Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah, he goes for the second interpretation, which is the one that he talks about, that is from a general, because when he carries on, it poses a problem. That's what he says. But let me tell you that Jumhur al-Mufassirin, most of the interpreters, they carry this interpretation onto the first one, which is what? Adam alayhi salam. Her spouse is Hawa. And even the person who had interpreted this book, first one, Taysir, he had said, Sheikh Sulaiman, he had said that any person who makes other than the interpretation of Adam is making ibtida', mubtadi'ah, bid'ah. So any other than this interpretation is a bid'ah. That's Sulaiman, the one who is the grandchild of Sheikh Muhammad Wahab. And that is why Muhammad Wahab, he had taken that from the majority of the interpreters. Now when we say the major interpreters, it doesn't mean we're playing here, like who's major and who's minor and correct with them, but we're saying that's what it is. As for the interpretation of Ibn Kathir rahimahullah, Ibn Kathir, he says, no, it does not refer to Adam. Now the third interpretation, which is the one that you could say very good, but some of the scholars, they said that it really is going to cause some weakness into the Arabic language, and some said no, there isn't. And that is the first ayah, and it talks about هو الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة, it's Adam, spouse is Hawa. But later on, when we come to this verse which we're interpreting, فَلَمَّا آتَاهُمَا صَالِحًا, when Allah brought them a righteous Salih, righteous son, it's not Adam, Hawa. He had gone to different now, that is what? Husband and wife. Did you understand that? So, first, the ayah talks about Adam and Hawa. And then the second ayah, which is not linked to the first ayah, it's linked to the husband and wife. And as I said, that's the third interpretation. It's a very strong interpretation, and will also solve the matters. But we're going to inshallah discuss all of these in due course. So let's go to the first one. هو الذي خلقكم. I'm going to the second one. The first one, the second one. What's the first one? You said? The first one is the Adam and Hawa. That was the first one. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, هو الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة, was the one who created you from Adam, single person, and ومنها, and also from him, وجعل منها زوجها, and we made from her, from that soul, زوجها, which is Hawa, ليسكن إليها, so that he would make sukoon to her. Sukoon is the person when he has for example, the person when he comes to sukoon, like it's the sukoon of his being one person, and he will be coming to her and calm down, and also calm down his lust. There's two things here, calming down to the lust, and also it talks about calming down of the soul when he's having mercy and love with his wife. So the wife is called sakan. Sakan means a house. Sakan means a will. Right. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, can I ask for the electric because the light's going off? Yes. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَلَمَّا تَغَشَّاهَا, when he had made tarshiyah to her, تَغَشَّاهَا, he went on top of her. تَغَشَّاهَا. And always the Quran, when it talks about the sexual intercourse, he will talk about it in a terminology which is implicit, not explicit. Because our fitrah, as people who are straight, not fitrah the ones who are being polluted, our fitrah is that we do not like to hear those words that talks about awra and what you do with your awra. Okay, so always we say these things in a way which is what? In a way which is sharp. Unless there is something that makes us to openly speak about it. And I'll give you an example. When the Prophet ﷺ came to Ma'iz ibn Malik and he had fornicated, so the Prophet ﷺ, after 3 times, and the 4th time, he started to ask him the question, because he's asking now for death, because he's saying, purify me, Messenger of Allah, purify me. So when he said to purify me, he said, what did you ask? Did you kiss her? Did you hug her? He said, no, more. I didn't. So maybe you kissed her. He said, no, it's not that. You mean? So he said then the word, I dare not to say it now in Arabic, because it's very heavy. And it's equivalent into English to the word of the F. Equivalent. So you will not be as a person to say that F word. I will do that. But when the person doesn't understand, and the person is about to be pelted until death, this is the punishment of a person who committed adultery. So he has the Prophet ﷺ to express the word, because he said, "Idra'u al-hudud bi-shubuhat." Make sure that you will prevent the implementation of the prescribed punishment by doubtful issues. If you've got doubt, don't do it. If you have doubt that this person did not do it, you can't, make the, for example, amputation of the hand or killing, because you can't. And later, if you found out that something is correct, you can't put the hand back. You can't give life to the person. You only kill him. So prescribed punishment is not an easy. So that is why it has to be. That's why the person when he fornicates, you say he committed adultery, has to be what? 4 witnesses, or he testifies. He confesses. If he confesses, and even the Prophet only confessed once, go back, twice, go back, 3 times, go. Even the 3rd time he said, smell him. He was drunk. Because the person coming to ask for death is not really a normal person. Then he asked his family, he's dry, he's crazy, something wrong with him. Are you sure that he's sound-minded? Then the 4th one he said to him the word. Did you? And then there was the word, the F, her. He said yes. So that means khalas. He had 100% said what he had done. That is why, if you have any book that claims to be from Allah Azza wa Jal, it will not contain words which talks about those things that takes place, which we are shy of, in an explicit way. No way. And that is why we say that the Bible is not the book of Allah. One of the reasons is if you read, I can't remember which one, it's in Arabic Hizqiyah, but in English I can't remember what it is called. But there is one there, a chapter about a hulama, something like this. Hulama, they fornicated with each other. And they brought ancestors. Somebody's a rebel, you could really chat here and help me with this. So, Ezekiel. Hizqiyah, Ezekiel, sounds like Hizqiyah, Ezekiel, sounds like Ezekiel, and talks about how they were fornicating. And he talks about ejaculation, he talks about throwing the semen, throwing the sperm, all of that. So one of the people who would embrace Islam, is a sister, on Palm Talk, she was saying how she embraced Islam. She was so insulted to Islam, Prophet of Allah, to Allah the Almighty Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. And she was a Christian, but she was very religious. She was insulted to the God of ours, not to the God that she believes, which is Yeshua. And I'm talking about sisters in Arab. And on Palm Talk, they said to her, would you be able to read those passages into the public? Because here, maybe in this public, the public here, I mean, they don't care about this. But in our communities, Arabs, we can't, women talking like this. And they were, always challenging her. And she always refers back to the priest to help her. So she tells them, why is this in the book of claims to be from God? And then they say to her, well, Quran has got Yusuf alayhi salam, Yusuf, and you talk about Yusuf, and he's about to go on top of her, of the Mar'at al-Aziz. She said, I'm not asking you to go and prove to my aqidah from the Quran. And she said, have you ever seen a Muslim asking his sheikh about something which is in the Quran and inside? By the way, the Bible, have you ever seen that? Bible says, why are you asking about this? The Torah says about it. So she's very clever. It's my aqidah, proven from my own book. I don't care about the Muslim what they believe. I don't care about the Muslim within the Quran. I want you to tell me, well, why is this here? And why is it when I heard a woman, a girl, onto the bus, she was reciting Quran loud, and the girls around her, they were really fascinated with the recitation. They said, thank you, very good. And I can't bear read this in front of them, in the public. I cannot. Can you explain to me? And then after a while she said, I didn't know that you haven't got an answer, have you? She's still Christian. You haven't got an answer. And she was talking to her God, who was claimed to be God, Yeshua, in the picture. Can you just please? And she's crying her head out. She's crying. I wonder, why can't I read your words? Because they interpret the words, this means that the sperm means something, and this means something, ejaculation means something. Okay, I understand. I believe this means, but why can't I read these words? Isn't it God good enough to bring other words and these things to explain to us what is you are saying? Okay, I believe that this means this and this means that. But why can't I read it? And then she decided, that's it. If it's the word of God, I have to read it. So she took the book of the Bible, she said, and in the bus stop, she was reciting with the ladies, and there's men reciting. She said, no, book. So is she gonna find the same reaction like that one girl that she recited from the Quran, everybody really, mashallah, chanting very good, they were really listening, some of them in tears. So she was reciting, and she recited from two, from Ezekiel, and there's another one, and a sheet, I can't remember. There's another one as well. Talks about the two. Song of Hymns. Yes. Shad al-Anashid. Song of Hymns. In Shad al-Anashid. That's the one. Translation of that. So she started reciting from that, and she was to see the reaction. The reaction, laughing, being shy, embarrassed, bashful, and then the sudden shock. Somebody came to her from the bed. Are you hot? Are you hot? If you want to be hot, don't be hot here. He doesn't actually reciting from the book. She couldn't help herself. She went home, crying, locked up herself. She was daring herself to read the text. The text, and she's talking to a picture. She said, the picture's not answering me back. Why is it that I can't read your words? Why is it when I read your words, this person got, are you hot? So she goes, she couldn't sleep, and she goes, she can't remember, after midnight. She goes up, and she was living in a flat, she climbs, she goes up to the top floor, onto the roof. She's Egyptian, they live really up high. So he went to the top, and they opened, and she started, and the rain is coming onto her, and it was thunder, and she's asking God, Lord, I want to know, give me a sign. Cannot be your word? Tell me, oh God. And she said, the adhan was called. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allah Akbar. How can it be that this is my word? She said, when she heard this, and she asked, Allahu Akbar. And then one of them, because the adhan is there, one masjid called him. She asked again, another muadhin came, Allahu Akbar, and answered her. And then she started, she said, Habib, the rain is from you, God. I want to love it. And she went downstairs, and then she had never had heard. She said there was a masjid close by to her, and this masjid is an old man who leads the prayer. And there was never been except just for reading, and that's it. And then she had, Allah sent a sign. And there's a sheikh for the very first time. He comes onto that Fajr and he recites from Surah Al-Ma'idah about Isa alayhi salam. When Allah is asking, Isa, did you ask people to worship yourself and your mother? She came to the sign. And then she said, in kuntu qultu faqad alimta. Allah says that about Isa. Said, if I said this, you would have known that. So she said, repeating that word, and she slept. And she was woken up from her mother. Get up in the morning, you're really late for your work. Well, what is that you're dreaming about? She said, what am I dreaming about? She said, he was saying, in kuntu qultu faqad alimta. The verse, he was saying it while she was asleep. But I'm just saying to you that she knew that this book can actually be God. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses words. تغشى تباشروهن. The words like that. It's not really. Okay? فلم فقال, the Bible said she had turned off his shirt. So one of the people in the Paltalk, when he was talking to this woman, she was talking. She was the one before. She was arguing. So if she was talking about Yusuf and, well, if you heard about somebody who's turned off the shirt, would you fall into the floor with lust and sexual things? Is it to do with this? And make it common sense when you hear about somebody, you turn off your shirt. What comes to your mind? Nothing. Sounds a fight. No sexual things come to your mind. But when you talk about this ejaculation and throwing on top of her and zina, explicit words, that's why it's not from the book. And this is beside the point, as I said. Now, our Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen, he does not allow that when the person approaches his wife, that she comes on the top. Because of this, tarashah. But we do find that there are narration from the Prophet when the migration took place from Mecca to Medina. And the Maccaeans, they got used to when they make the marital relation, they have no sort of position to do it. Whereas in Medina, those women from the Ansar and these people from the Ansar, they have been influenced by the Jews who are surrounding Medina. And the Jews, when they approach the wife, they approach it called ala harf. Ala harf is on a side, on sideways. There's no one on top of each other, so sideways. So when the Muhajirun came to migrate to the Ansar, so there was now intermingling. Somebody marrying from the man marrying a woman from the Ansar. So one of the women, she came to ask the Prophet ﷺ, is what her husband is doing to her is correct, because she hasn't got used to this, and she hasn't been taught that. And in the hadith it says that she came to the Prophet, the Messenger of Allah, we used to, before you came to Medina, looked ala harf, side by side, just like the Jews. And now, when the Muhajirun came, migrant immigrants, they came, now he said, يشرحها تشريحا. It makes it like in Arabic, autopsy. You know, you have an autopsy. What is the autopsy does? You know, it is a dead person. It puts in the top, on the side, on the bottom, on the autopsy. قال يشرحها تشريحا. So he says, قال مدبرات المستلقيات whether they're sleeping or the, so the Prophet of Allah did not answer whether it's haram or halal until the ayah came, which is وَأَتُوا حَرْثَكُمْ أَنَّ شِئْتُمْ, and approach your spouses. He didn't have, he said, the word harf means, the land, you plow. Harf means plowing. So you're plowing the land basically, because you are going to put a baby there. Plow. So أَتُوا حَرْثَكُمْ, come to your plowing, to your harvesting, the way that you want. No details. So we say, that is, according to the other scholars, there is no problem, and each people, they go by their, you could say, habits the rituals. Do you understand me? That is why the scholars, you always advise that the people marry from their same what? Background. Do you understand me? So if, for example, let's say, a Pakistani brother who doesn't know anything, he married to an English revert sister who had experienced something before Islam, she expects her husband to do the same thing, or vice versa. An English revert marrying a sister from somebody who's having background of nothing like that. She had no idea about what these do. And I'm saying this because I had a sister being divorced. She was a Sikh revert from the Sikh deen. And she came from that place. But the person who married her is a revert. And because that she's not giving him the satisfaction that he got used to when he was making haram before he embraced Islam, or maybe because he married to a non-Muslim before, that is why he had this relationship so cold with her, ended up with a divorce and marrying somebody else. That's why we say the background sometimes very what? Important. We advise. We're going to say we advise. Because some of the sisters, they cannot adapt. And that's why that Ansariya, she came to the Prophet complaining, and she's saying, Messenger of Allah, my husband is up, down. And she's saying like that, it's like autopsy. And we're not got used to this. It's halal. But the Ansariya, subhanAllah, Prophet Allah said nothing. The ayah came, he told her that, that's it. She will what? Implement. She will implement. She will not say, for example, no, I haven't got used to that. I can't do that. She implements. Sam'an wa ta'a. We're here, coming back. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, after this, فَلَمَّا تَغَشَّاهَا حَمَلَتْ حَمْلًا خَفِيفًا. When he had made the intercourse with her, she conceived, and she was pregnant, and that pregnancy was light. فَمَرَّتْ بِهِ. She passed through that with light pregnancy. فَلَمَّا أَثْقَلَتْ. And by the way, it's not in your book, really. It's in your book, I think it is. فَلَمَّا أَثْقَلَتْ, which is the last moments of her delivery, delivering the baby. دَعَوَ اللَّهِ. That means they have called, both of them, Adam and Hawa, upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, their Lord. لَإِنْ آتَيْتَنَا صَالِحًا. If you are to bring us righteous, salih here could be righteous in deen or healthy in the body. Righteous in deen or what? Healthy in the body. But healthy in the body is more appropriate. Because you will not be able to know that he's righteous in deen until what? Until later on. Until he's about 25. So they're saying, if you're bringing us what? Healthy. Sound in body, then we will be, لَنَكُنَنَّ مِنَ الشَّاكِرِينَ, will be from the thankful people. لَإِنْ آتَيْتَنَا صَالِحًا لَنَكُنَنَّ مِنَ الشَّاكِرِينَ. And that is why we find that the correct opinion, even Shaykh al-Uthaymeen says is both righteous and what? Body-wise. But actually the body-wise is more appropriate, as most of the Mufassirun says. Why? Because they said we don't know if he's going to be righteous until later on. And they're going to be staying, not being thankful until he's later on. That is why in Al-Adab al-Mufrad, Al-Bukhari, he narrates, Aisha radiallahu anha, she used to say whenever there is somebody had given birth in her family, in her tribe, somebody giving birth, she would ask, is he a human being in all respect? I mean, is he healthy in his body? Is nothing wrong with him? They say to her, yes, and she says, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. So that is a more appropriate interpretation. They say, if he's okay, there's no missing eye, no missing legs, no missing head, no missing, he was not born with a syndrome, Down syndrome or whatever that is, Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. She used to thank Allah. So it is more appropriate to say it is healthy in the body. Then, now we're going to say that it's Adam and Hawa. فَلَمَّا آتَاهُمَا صَالِحًا. Before we go to this, آتَاهُمَا صَالِحًا, before we go to that, we say that always, that the Prophet ﷺ, he said, verily, vow does not bring good. And here it sounds like a vow. It is not a vow, but it sounds like, oh Lord, if you bring us this, we will be from the shakirin. But it doesn't mean that if you don't bring us this, we will not be from the shakirin. That means we'll be extra thankful to you, oh Lord. Now, The person, when he makes a vow like this, oh Lord, if you give me health to my body, then I will slaughter a camel. Oh Lord, Shaykh Islam Taymiyyah, he is more inclined to say it's haram to make a vow like that. Because the Prophet said, La ya'ti bi khayr. Nadru, the vow, does not bring good. And this is a strong opinion. If you look at the amount of people who refer to the scholars regarding their vows, and please make us a solution, then you will be inclined towards those scholars who say it's haram. You know, I've made a vow, because when you are in a situation like let's say your child is about to die, oh Lord, you make your child healthy, I'll slaughter for you 100 camels. You are in a state of drunkenness, you don't know what you're saying, because you're desperate. And you're not expecting Allah Azza wa Jalla to do that. And let's say Allah gave the health to that baby of yours, that child, and he's back to normal, against all the odds, meaning all the doctors, they said, you're going to die, and suddenly there's nothing wrong with him. Now you wake up now from your drunkenness. What did they say? 100 camels? My God, I don't have 100 camels. So you go to the Shaykh now, please Shaykh, I said this, I don't know what I was saying, please 100 camels. You have to do 100 camels. Please Shaykh, come again, 100 chicken, 100 rabbits, 100 anything. But camels is too much. Not has 100 camels. Alas, you have to get money and borrow money until you slaughter 100 camels. That is why, as I said, the number of people who refer to the scholars regarding this issue makes it more likely to be that it is haram, like Shaykh Al-Tawheed say. But we say, the nadhr mu'allaq, the one that you make a vow. If Allah, if you do this to me, then I'll do that to you, that is definitely close to the haram. I'm pleased to say it is what makruh, disliked. But the one who vows like this, Ali lillahi, upon me a vow, I'm going to slaughter something. It's not really hooked to something. It's just, you want to do that. Even that we say, you don't have to abide yourself with something which is not being compulsory. Why do people compulsory something compulsory upon you? So if you made a vow, for example, to offer something, imagine that you did not fulfill it, you died. It's a debt. Inheritance has to do with it instead of you. It's a debt. And imagine that you were bankrupt. Imagine that you have an accident, totally disabled, can't do it. How can you? So don't make a vow. Don't make something upon you compulsory which is not compulsory. It's not correct. So this is now Adam alayhi salam and Hawa before, the laws of Islam always, updates the time. So whatever has been, for example, correct, right before to do, it's not right. So, for example, nobody's allowed to prostrate except to whom? To Allah. But Allah commanded the angels and everything to prostrate to whom? To Adam. So it's changed now. There is no prostration except to Allah Azza wa Jalla. So they have made this, oh Lord, if you give us the salih, then we'll give you from the shakir. This is now the verse which is in the chapter. When Allah provided them with a healthy, sound boy, جَعَلَ لَهُ شُرَكَاءَ. They made to that child shuraka. Shuraka means partners. Now what does that mean? جَعَلَ لَهُ شُرَكَاءَ. It means one of those three things. Either that they have believed that this boy is because of whoever told him, because of wali, because of iblis, because of that, whatever. And this is shirk akbar. And we cannot, if it's going to be Adam and Hawa, we cannot really say that. Because all the prophets are what? Infallible against what? Against shirk. Whether it's akbar or asghar. Second one is that the person, that the child, that he became healthy because of the ones who were around and made him healthy. For example, doctors and all of that. Even though we are confessing this is belong from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but you are saying that he is healthy because the one who's giving birth to the baby is good. That's another shirk, but this shirk, we call it, is not akbar. It is part of shirk, asghar. Third thing, which is, that is, you don't make shirk from the rububiyyah side of it, but actually you believe that this boy came with the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but you are putting his love in front of the love of Allah. So the love of Allah becomes secondary. Do you understand? So your love to that baby is more than the love to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you are just actually making the love of the baby rival to the love of the Almighty subhanahu wa ta'ala. and He's the one who actually had given you that baby. So these are the three meanings of the word that is قال فلما أتى جعل له شركاء. They made partners to Him. قال فجعل له شركاء فيما آتاهما فتعالى الله عما يشركون. Above all that Allah associate, exalted Allah above all that they associate anything with Him. Right, this is now the first interpretation. Second interpretation we said. We'll go to the third interpretation, please. Give the second one. The third interpretation we said, the most strongest one, which is the one that talks Adam and Hawa up to the verse which is in the chapter. And that is what it says now. It is not to do with Adam and Hawa. The people have done that. And the people made shirk after Allah provided them with a baby, Allah's healthy baby. They started forgetting what the promise they had given to the Almighty Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Third interpretation is the second one there, second interpretation, which is that it's nothing to do with Adam. If we understand it like this, well, alhamdulillah, then there's no problem. And he says this, Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen, he takes this as the right approach, because you cannot attribute something to the Almighty, to the Prophet Adam and his wife, something which is like this. You cannot attribute something like this based upon the following hadith, which is going to come now in a minute. Hadith Abdullah ibn Abbas. Let's go to Ibn Hazm, what he says.
Ibn Hazm said, they are agreed on the prohibition of any name that shows servitude to other than Allah, such as Abd Amr, Abd Kaaba, and except Abdul Muttalib.
Now, why did he say that? He is now, what is the link between this and the ayah? This is where we said that the chapter talks about a person mixing a name which is the slave of something other than the names of Allah. If he means it, then he's making major shirk. Because the ayah is interpreted by the following hadith. And the following hadith says that the child that Adam and Hawa was provided with, they called him Abdul Harith. And Al-Harith is one of the names of Iblis. And Iblis from the word Ablasa. Ablasa, a person who's been Ablasa, that means he's been expelled from the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's confused. He came out. So Iblis had told him to call him Abdul Harith, the slave of Al-Harith. So Adam and Hawa, because they were given child after child and all of them died, so this Iblis came to them and said to them, if you don't call him Abdul Harith, he will die again. So they have actually followed him and obeyed him, and they called him Abdul Harith in order for that child to become healthy, and that child lived. So basically the love of the baby, of the mother of the baby, that made her to accept what Iblis told her. That is the link between this, which is the Ibn Hazm or Muhammad al-Zahiri, the one who we call him from Mufat al-Qiyas, the one who does not accept Qiyas analogy. They say that they have ittafaqu, they have agreed upon. Here, agreed upon, it is the agreement that consensus, we call it ijma', cannot be seen except in the companions. Any other agreement or consensus other than the companions, we can't really verify it. Because at the time of the Mu'tazila, at the time of Imam Ahmad, Mu'tazila, they used to say there's consensus. That's why Imam Ahmad said, how do you know there's consensus? How can you make sure that there is no difference here? And the consensus that Imam Ahmad had obliterated, did not accept, is the consensus that Mu'tazila they used to bring in order to legalize what their ideologies are. You understand me? So they believe in something which is not right, and they say there's ijma'. How do you know there's ijma'? There's no ijma'. So Imam Ahmad negated the ijma' the Mu'tazila they brought, did not negate the ijma' which is the companions. The companions, if they have made an ijma', then ijma' is on the deen. From the roots of our ahkam is book, sunnah, ijma' and qiyas. Book and sunnah are the primary sources, and then the secondary sources are ijma', which is consensus, and qiyas, which is analogy. Coming back, so he said, there is ijma' on the prohibition of every name which is being made to be abd, slaverized to other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like Abdul Amr, Abdul Kaaba, and we say Abdul Rida, Abdul Hussein, Abdul Hassan, all of those names, Abdul Nabi, all of those names is haram. Except he says Abdul Muttalib. And the scholars did not agree with Ibn Hazm. Even Abdul Muttalib is not right. Now why is Abdul Muttalib, he says Ibn Hazm, it's no problem? Because the Prophet of Allah said أَنَا النَّبِيُّ لَكَذِبْ أَنَا ابْنُ عَبْدِ الْمُطَّلِبِ. He said it when he was fighting in the battle of Hunayn. Companions, they ran away, except for few. Prophet of Allah charging in front with his camel, and he's saying, I am the Prophet, there's no lying about that. And the son of Abdul Muttalib. Abdul Muttalib is the grandfather of the Prophet of Allah. They say that his name was Shaybatu Muhammad. And he was called Abdul Muttalib because he was looking like his uncle Al-Muttalib. Muttalib ibn Nawfal, he was looking like him. But he was called later on Abdul Muttalib. That means the one slave of Abdul Muttalib. It's not like Abdul Muttalib is God, but the one who is like with him. His slave as in serving him. You understand? Abdul Muttalib, the slave. I mean the slave, but it's not as in slavery of worship. You understand me? So Abdul Muttalib, even that is not allowed. And no companion is allowed to name himself or children Abdul Muttalib. Yes, if their parents were Abdul Muttalib and they stayed upon kufr and they got upon kufr, you cannot change the name of your father. So the Prophet of Allah, his name is Muhammad ibn Abdullah ibn Abdul Muttalib. You cannot put a name there which is instead of Abdul Muttalib, that would be haram. So if you are, your names, for example, let's say that you are a revert and your name was John, the son of, for example, the son of Paul, the Paul who changed Christianity, son of Paul, or the son of the slave of Jesus, Abdu Yasur, slave, son of the slave of Jesus. You could change your name. Yes, change your name. Whatever you like, you change it. You don't have to change it unless it has got something which is haram in it. So John can say John. John uses Yahya. John. But you cannot change your father, your grandfather's name. Even its kufr name. So his name is going to be John, the son of what? Paul. Or the son of the slave of Jesus. If his name like this, his father's name, the slave of Jesus. It's going to be like that. So the Prophet cannot change his name. That is why Abdul Muttalib, Prophet of Allah, when he said it, it means that I am from the lineage of this. It's not to say that Abdul Muttalib is allowed to be called, or a name I'm allowing it, I'm approving it. No. And we say in principle, نَاقِرُ الْكُفْرِ لَيْسَ بِكَافِرٍ. The one who recites the words of kufr of other people is not a kafir himself. So when a person says that this person said this word, which is kufr, you said it, you're not a kafir. This person said, La ilaha illallah. So when I said, this person said, La ilaha, there is no God worthy of worship, it doesn't mean I'm a Muslim, unless I say it. And also, if this person said, there is no God. When I said, there is no God, he said, I didn't say that there is no God. So, نَاقِرُ الْكُفْرِ لَيْسَ بِكَافِرٍ. So the Prophet of Allah, he had actually just narrated that he is the son of Abdul Muttalib. And that is as well to tell us that grandfather is a father. So he said, I am the son of whom? Abdul Muttalib. As he actually is the son of Abdullah ibn Abdul Muttalib. Your grandfathers are your fathers as well. Right. Now, Shaykh Uthaymeen, he exploits in this one. In this one. He says, Prophet Allah said, Abdul Dinar. Ta'isa Abdul Dinar. Prophet Allah said, woe, or what a loser he is, the slave of the dinar. Here, the slave of the dinar is not the dinar is his father, or the dinar is his God. No. The dinar means the slave is the one who is humiliating himself after the money that is owed to him. Nobody would call himself Abdul Dinar, Abdul Dirham, the worship of money. Mr. Worshipper of money. Now, so it's a description basically. Right, now coming to the hadith, which is the one that is linked to the ayah, which is called Abdul Had. Go ahead.
Regarding the verse, Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma said, when Adam alayhi salam had sexual relations with her, relation with her, she became pregnant, and Iblis approached them both and said, I am your companion.
By the way, it was not the word taghashahi. He has used the same Quranic word to Ibn Abbas if it's authentic. And taghashahi means marital relation. It's a better word than sexual intercourse. So marital relation. Okay, she got pregnant. So Iblis, yes.
Iblis came to approach both and said, I am your companion who caused your expulsion from paradise. You better follow me, otherwise I will make him grow 2 ibex-like horns, by which he will pierce your belly when he comes out.
The Antellis is better. You call it the Antellis, yeah? The Antellis is better. The word is better. What do you call it?
Antlers.
Antlers, yes, antlers, that's the one. It's a better word than the ay, the qarb al-ay, called antlers, yes. It's a better word than the horns. Horn is for something else. Go on.
Well, by which, tell us, by which he will pierce your belly when he comes out. I will do it. He was frightening them and then saying he named him, that boy, Abdul Harith.
Huh?
He was frightening them, that name him Abdul Harith.
Yes, correct. Name him.
But they did not follow him, so he was born dead. Thereafter, she became pregnant and he approached them and repeated the same demand. They were overwhelmed by love for the boy and they named him Abdul Harith. This is the meaning of his saying that they made partners with him regarding what they were given, reported by Abi Hatim. He also reported with an authentic chain that Qatada said, partners regarding following him and not with respect to worshipping him.
Right. So basically, that this, first of all, is it authentic or not authentic? If it's authentic, then we'll go into the interpretation and make sure that if it's not authentic, why should we bother about it? And according to Shaykh al-Albani, it is not authentic. So Shaykh al-Albani discussed this in his Silsila Da'ifa and makes it unauthentic. So Shaykh al-Albani rahmatullah alayhi, 342, the number, says it's unauthentic. Now, let's say if it is authentic. How the scholars interpret that? Shaykh al-Uthaymeen, of course, he goes, it's an authenticity, but in terms of meaning-wise, not in terms of narration-wise. Do you understand that? The meaning. Let me go to how the Shaykh al-Uthaymeen makes it unauthentic as well. As I said, it's unauthentic in its chain. But now, Shaykh al-Uthaymeen, he discusses it. It's an authenticity regarding what? The meaning of it. He says, rahmatullahi alayhi, he said that, first of all, that this story cannot be correct. And rightly so. He says that, number one, that if this story was in Adam and Hawa, either that they're going to be repenting from the shirk or they're going to be dying upon it. Repenting from the shirk or they die upon it. So if we say that they died upon the shirk, a'udhu billah. How can we have a prophet dying upon shirk? And if you said that they repented from it, then how can it be fair upon Allah Azza wa Jalla to mention their shirk and He does not mention their what? Their repentance. When Allah spoke about Adam eating from the tree, He mentioned their sin and mentioned what? Their repentance as well. So that is, now the other side where they refute this point, they say basically that he did not commit shirk. He had committed shirk and ta'ah. What is shirk and ta'ah? That means they called him Abdul Harith, that is, they have followed the shaitan. But they did not mean that he's the slave of other than God. They follow the shaitan. And they go further, those are the ones who say this story is authentic, that when Adam alayhi salam had eaten from the tree, he had committed more sin than this. Because Allah spoke to him directly. Don't eat from the tree. And yet Adam and Hawa had eaten from the tree. So that is, they are opposing a command which is Allah told them, don't eat from the tree. So now the shaitan told them, if you eat from the tree, you'll be immortal and all of that. Khuld. So this is basically a sin. And every sin has got a type of shirk in it. Type of shirk. Not the real shirk, but a type of shirk. So this is the refutation of the other side. The other point that Shaykh al-Uthaymeen brings is that the prophets are infallible regarding shirk with the consensus of scholars, which is true. But the other side is not shirk. That's the argument. Third thing, that he says that on the hadith of the Shafa', when the people on the day of resurrection, they go to the first one to intercede in order Allah to stop the shaking and the sun is going really close to them, they go to Adam. And they mentioned him, you are our father, Allah created us, created you in your hands and gave you the soul, and also He made the angels to prostrate to you, and He has made you to enter paradise. Can't you see what we are in? Intercede. So he said that our Lord had got angry, such an anger that He never had anger. I was angry like this before, He will not get angry later on like that. I have, and He mentions his sin. Told me not to eat from the tree, but I've eaten. So if He said, if He had done such a thing, He would have mentioned it as well. Because this is as well shirk. He would have said, I've done this as well, and I'm not really fit for it, I cannot ask for intercession. So He says that. But again, the other side says it's not shirk, it's a minor sin. And all the prophets, with consensus, they are exposed to what? To minor sins. All the prophets, with no exception. All the prophets make minor sins. So this is a minor sin. So that's another point which has been, as I said, rebutted by the other one. The fourth point, that this is the shaitan is talking to them. So he says, in this Athar of Abdullah ibn Abbas, he said, I am your partner, the one I got you out of paradise. How can you keep saying that to that? I am the partner of yours, who got you out of paradise. So if I'm going to say that to the person, definitely the person does not listen to me at all. I am your partner. Remember me? I mean, if I want to deceive them again, I will not remind them. So I need to listen, and that's a strong point. If I'm going to deceive them, I will not remind them. I don't remember me that I will go to paradise. You got to get out. Listen to you. So that's a very strong point. But the other side is saying, which is very weak. They say that the shaitan, can trick the person to do the sin again and again and again. Yes, it's true. You repent and you forget the shaitan had fooled you again, you do it again, but the shaitan does not come. You remember when I made you do this sin after you repented? Do the sin again. He will not come like that. So he came to them, reminding them that I'm the one who got you in paradise. So, and also, on top of that, the other side is, he says that when he said, the shaitan, if you don't call that boy, Abdul Harith, I'm going to make him, and tell us, Antlers? Yeah, Antlers. So if they believe in such a thing, they are making shirk al-rububiyyah. That this shaitan is capable of creating? How can Adam and Hawa believe in such a thing? How can? But on the other side they say, well, the person may be not in a full understanding of that because of love of having a baby. That's a weak argument as well. Now the other one, which is that is Allah at the end of it is Ta'ala Allah amma yushrikun. Allah is above of whatever they associate. He made now a plural after He made two, so it's definitely not about Adam and Hawa, and that's the weakest point in the side of Shaykh al-Uthaymeen. It's not really strong because sometimes in the Quran Allah talks about two, then He talks about more. But the 2 points that we mentioned before, that is, how can the shaitan remind the one got out of paradise? So listen to me now. They're not going to listen to him. And the other one, which is these 2 points, and I'm circling them here, and that is the other one, which is that if they believe that he is capable of putting antlers to the child, then they are making shirk in the rububiyyah, and it's not possible for a prophet to make shirk, whether it's major or minor. By this, alhamdulillah, we said that we believe, according to some as well the scholars, or the interpreters, that this is nothing to do with Adam and Hawa when he started with saying, when it's actually to do other than Adam and Hawa, whether it's from the beginning or from the end, it doesn't matter. But we 100%, this is فَلَمَّا آتَاهُمَا صَالِحًا, it has not to do with Adam and Hawa. As for the first one, هو الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة, is it from Adam or Hawa? Yes, we know that Shaykh Sulaiman, the one who did the Taysir, he said, if you do other than Adam and Hawa, is a bid'ah interpretation. But no, there are scholars who said it. Ibn Kathir, rahmatullahi alayhi, he had mentioned that. And also Ibn al-Qayyim, rahmatullahi alayhi, he had mentioned that. Ibn al-Qayyim mentions it clearly into his book At-Tibyan fi Aqsam al-Quran. At-Tibyan fi Aqsam al-Quran, he mentioned that as well, and he says not Adam nor it's Hawa. Now, come to the issues, please.
The important issues. First, prohibition of every name with an ascription of the servant of to other than Allah.
Right, we said it's not allowed to say anything Abdul something except for Abdul Muttal, Abdul Musawwir, Abdul Ilah, Abdul Wahid. and all of the names of Allah. Other than that, it's not allowed. Number 2.
Second explanation of the verse.
We've got 3 interpretations, if you remember. Now, the third one.
The third, that regarding shirk is merely naming, its real essence is not intended.
We said, that's based upon the authenticity of that Athar from Abdullah ibn Abbas, but we said, anyway, we said that the story is not authentic, and the shirk, if the person said his name is Abdul Nabi, it could be shirk akbar, if he means a Nabi is equal to God, or can do what God can do, or it could be shirk asghar, or something which opposes or negates the complete Tawheed. Remember? We said that. Okay, number 4.
The fourth, that Allah's gift of a sound baby girl to a person is a bounty.
Okay, well, this is what happened at the time of the, this is based upon as well the unauthentic hadith. And also Allah, the person he bring, gets a girl, he should be happy just like he's happy if he gets a boy. Yes, the boy has an edge. Definitely. The boy has an edge. Because the boy is the one who carries your name. So you have girls, okay, the girls basically they're going to get married. And when they get married, their children, they will be named to the husband of hers. Do you understand me? And whereas the boy, regardless of how many children he makes, all of them they will be what? Attributed to you. So the boy has an edge, but it doesn't mean that you are upset. And I told you the story regarding the girls, who've got 7 girls. Yeah, I'm sure. The one who had a dream. I'm sure I've done this. Yes, I've done it. So what is it?
He keeps asking, I think, for boy, but he keeps
getting a daughter. Yes. Did 7 daughters.
He's going to heaven because of a thing.
You remember that? I don't know, have you got that? No, he's here, in this masjid. He's not in bed.
Just
Huh?
chance.
No, you heard it online, you heard it here.
No, definitely. I'm sure.
Ahmed, he doesn't know.
Twice online, but I heard it in person, but I don't know. I don't think it was the
I'm with you, I'm 100% sure. Okay, can you start beginning the story, please?
I don't remember.
Right, Sheikh Abdul Razak al-Badr, Hafidhahullah. Sheikh Abdul Razak al-Badr, he says this is a story from his trustworthy friend, and that trustworthy friend, he knows that person, what happens to him. So it's a high chain of Islam. Authentic. Sheikh Abdul Razak is known, and if he said, I know that person, khalas. Sheikh Abdul Razak says that this person basically is talking about the people at the time of Jahiliyyah. Every time that they have a glad tidings that their wife had brought a girl, it would become what? Darkened and black and all of that. وَإِذَا بُشِّرَ أَحَدٌ بِالْأُنْثَى, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, one of them is being given glad tidings of a female girl, ضَلَّ وَجْهُ مُسْوَدًّا, his face will start to be darkened. And he's shamed, هو كظيم, and he is enraged. يتوارى من القوم, he is hiding himself from the people. من سوء ما بشر به, that is because of what he's been giving glad tidings of to give a girl. أيمسكه على هون أم يدسه في التراب ألا ساء ما يحكمون. Now, some of these people used to bring their wives on the edge of a hole, big ditch. So if there's a girl, take her in the hole. If it's a boy, he carries her. At the time of the Jahiliyyah, that's how it is. So they used to kill the girl, either she is young, straight away, or even old. And that's old, in the hadith of the Prophet said, Al-wa'idu wal-wa'idatu wal-maw'udatu fi an-nar. The one who buries the girl and the one who is buried, they are both in the fire. So what is, we understand the one who buries, but how can the baby who is being buried is in the fire? Because this hadith talks about a specific story, and that story was that baby got old to be an adult, and she made shirk as well. So the mother of hers, or the one who is the father of hers, had killed her, so he is in the hellfire, and she is in the hellfire. So it's a particular story. It's not talking about, of course, the baby. It's in the principle, we cannot make him to bear the sins of his parents. وَلَا تَزِرُ وَازِرَةٌ أُخْرَى وِزْرَ أُخْرى. That's the principle. وَلَا تَزِرُ وَازِرَةٌ وِزْرَ أُخْرى. No person will bear the sins of other people. No way. That's a principle. That's what we say. We cannot have original sin. Yeah? As a Christian, original sin. Original sin, so what? Yes, a sin with Adam. He repented, but not going to be had a sin of Adam's on me. No, it's not fair. And then Allah Azza wa Jal going to bring His own son or himself to slaughter himself in order to expiate that sin that He Himself made. I mean, that's common sense as well. It's not common sense. So anyway, coming back. So the Muslims, they do have the same thing, the Shaykh says. Sometimes, when the person being given the lifetime, his mother or his wife, is giving birth to a girl, he's not like happy as if he's been given the lifetime of a boy. Aisha, she always asks, when she's been told that somebody giving birth, she will never ask boy or girl. Is he sawi? MashaAllah, in shape, full shape? Yes, Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. Come on. Or is a girl or a boy? You don't ask them. So this wife of his, she bring a girl, another girl, another girl, another girl, till the fifth girl. Now he's got fed up. He said to her, come on, do something better. So she said to him, what do you mean? It's not in my hands. I can't do something better. He said, well, you better, you better do something. There's 5 girls, unbearable. So she got pregnant. She got pregnant. That's it. Boy. Usually the person, when he gives a black tiny, the women who give black tiny, if it's a boy, they come running quickly. If it's a girl, they delay. They take time. Because they want to bring that bad news to you. That's how it's out. I don't know if in Pakistan the same thing, or the Indian the same thing. But it looks like it. So when she gave birth, I remember it happened to one of my relatives. Wallahi, he's been keeping 8 girls together, one after the other. And when I remember 6, when I was a kid, I remember the 6th girl, he was really sad. 7th girl, he was really sick. Coming back to original story. So it was really bad. When they told him it was a girl, it came to the 7th girl. Was it a girl or was it a boy? She got pregnant. He says to her, if you bring a girl, you're divorced. That's a true story. If you bring a girl, I'll divorce you. Alas. I'm going to send it to your family. Some of the people would say, I will marry on you. Well, you're another machine, they're going to give you boys, another woman. What are you talking about? How can you say like this? They use them like goods and machines. You could push buttons with the woman, boy, girl, Allah understand. Anyway, he had a dream, that person, the night before the delivery of the baby. In that dream, he's seen himself taken by the angels to be pushed and put into the hellfire. As far as I remember from the story. So, they took him to the hellfire and they're going to put him inside, and there was one of these girls there. She's saying, no way you're going to put my father there. So they take him, the angels, to the other gate. And I put him in the fire. 2nd girl is, no way you're going to put my father there. 3rd gate, 4th gate is a girl of his. 5th gate, 6th gate, how many gates of hellfire got? 7 gates. 7th gate, there is no girl to protect him. She threw him in the fire and he wakes up. Terrified, I want a girl. I want a girl. And he goes to the hospital. He said, I want a girl. Because of it, you're going to save her from the hellfire. I want a girl. And now he's expecting the person to come as what? Like before, slowly. But he came up. She came very quick. You got a boy! He's disappointed. He is disappointed. So that's why I'm just saying. The Prophet of Allah said, he who's got 3 girls or 2 girls, and he's been asking for 1 girl, would have been said, he looks after her, brings her up, looks after her, because looking after a girl is not really easy. Looks her after, bring her up until she becomes good. She is for him a savior from the hellfire. So about 7 girls. Anyway, that's a story I'm sure I mentioned before. Does it ring a bell, guys? No? So you're wrong, brother. Maybe you've seen it in online. We are both wrong, actually. Alhamdulillah.
6 girls and a boy.
7.
6 girls and a boy.
Yes. That's what it is. It's not a holy story. It's not Quran and Sunnah. So it doesn't matter whether the last one is the word. The most important thing, he had seen a dream. Yes. He wanted to protect you. So it doesn't matter whether boy or a girl, it doesn't matter. So it's not a oath, I'm going to go to the chain of the most important thing is that he had a dream. No. Go ahead.
And the final
fifth one. Yeah.
The fifth, the early Muslims mentioning of difference between shirk in obedience and the shirk in worship.
Yeah, well, shirk in obedience, meaning that you have followed a person, you obeyed him. It's not you have made obedience in the ibadah. So, if you make it an obedience regarding something which is not to do with ibadah, then no problem. So, for example, your father told you to go bring this, you brought it. But you had obeyed him. So, if your father told you that to drink alcohol, you obeyed him to drink alcohol. Yes, he did something haram. But I'm not when obeying him, I am making my father like what? Like God. That's what it is. Shirk al-ta'a. That's what it means. So he means that Adam and Hawa, according to what the author believes, that they did not make the shirk in making beside Allah or God, but actually by following the shaitan trace and by obeying the shaitan, he did not worship him. You understand that? Okay. By this way, we're going to finish the chapter, and inshallah, we'll start next week with the chapter 51. 51, we're going to be explaining it very quickly with 52 altogether. So we expect 2 chapters or maybe 3 chapters, inshallah, next week. Now, I knew I'm going to be a bit long with the story because the story is really of that Ibn Abbas to rebuttal it and to say it's not authentic. Now, if I missed anything, please tell me. No. Uncle is here? Yes. Follow.
You mentioned the hadith of another Banu saying that the child is not the child is not.
The approach with the person when says the children is unhealthy, you would say first of all, between yourself and yourself, means you don't mention it. Alhamdulillah alladhi afana mimma ibtalaka bihi wa faddalana ala kathirin mimman khalaqna tafdila. Just like you see somebody who's disabled, somebody, what do you say? Alhamdulillah, but in a different way. Praise be to Allah that He had made us better than other people and made us better. Because you don't want to be struck with this calamity of having a child, you're going to be, serving him in a different way because of special needs. You don't want to have that. So alhamdulillah, that He had helped us and saved us from getting to this situation. But you don't say that in front of the people. What is this? Helping them or you're rubbing it in? You're rubbing it in. Can't rub it in. So don't rub it in. So, but we say Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen for the people. Alhamdulillah. So I'm not going to ask you to be a boy. Alhamdulillah, you've got a healthy child. That's what you want. Now it's upon you to bring him up according to what Allah told you to bring him up. Upon me. Now. Follow.
Why do women have the right to sell a child? If a man believes, is it that if he believes that the woman...
Before I go ahead, he had asked a question. Do we say Alhamdulillah? No, we say Alhamdulillah. But when we say Alhamdulillah, let's say for example, somebody had a child who's got something wrong with him, Down syndrome. If you say to them, Alhamdulillah, I don't think they're going to be happy with you. Well, why are you saying Alhamdulillah? You're happy that we're having a child like that? I mean, common sense. You should show some sort of commiseration to them, and condolences. Alhamdulillah, be patient. Be patient. But you don't say to them like, oh, Alhamdulillah, but a Down syndrome child. That's not right. This is not really common sense. Follow that.
So if the man believes the woman that was...
If the man believes, if the woman is what? And before you ask, Uncle is saying, please, as a respect, always say that Uncle's got a question. Please. Because he asked when the uncle was not there. And you made me forget now. He asked Uncle.
Thank you. During the course of the conversation, you said something that is you said that every sin has a kind of shirk associated with it. Can you explain?
Yeah, every sin is somehow, it is shirk. The shirk here, in terms of that, you have followed your whims and desire and made it as a partner with the Almighty Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. When the person makes a sin, he's actually taking his whims and desire as a God. Do you understand me, uncle? So, but the difference with that person and this person, the person does that sin in times of weakness, not in times of that he wants to do that. Times of weakness, it's not to do with like he's actually making that as the okay. That's why he does it and he knows himself is a wrongdoer. Whereas the person who does shirk, in the normal proper shirk, he is actually calling upon something because he believes that thing is beside Allah, can help him, whatever. So he calls upon Jilani or Badawi. It's not because of times of that he's regretting. But that person will regret straight on. So he's in times of weakness, he fornicates. So it's a shirk of basically that he had followed his whims and desire. But it's not the shirk as in, for example, if he had to go to ask for a child, a woman, she goes to the grave of somebody, please give me a child. That's a proper shirk. Because she will not regret for that. If she will have another baby, she will go back again to that grave. Whereas this person is being pushed because of his, in a time of weakness of his iman. Okay, his iman goes down. When his iman goes up, he will not fornicate, he will not drink alcohol, he will not, and he will not. And this person, he's in his iman like this, and he goes to the Jilani or the grave, and it's because of, that's what he believes. Jilani and whatever, is these people. Yeah. And when he makes shirk, which is asghar, when he says, by my father, he says it and he does not regret it. Because he believes that my father is no problem. By my father, by my mother. Okay, but if he means a shirk akbar, if he means God, father and mother equal to Allah, it's shirk akbar. So that is why we call the other one is that somehow is a shirk, but it's not that shirk which we call it shirk akbar. Yes, uncle? Is that? No. Further.
So if the man believes the woman before that she was given birth to girls, wouldn't that shirk itself?
If the man believes that the woman's
fault that she gave her.
You see, that's as well in the time of weakness. He's a weak person. So he does not believe in that. He is just saying that I've had enough. I got fed up of having girls. But you ask him, he knows. That's why she said to him, you know that I haven't got nothing to do with this. He said, you better do something, He knows that she can't do anything. But he's just frustrated, basically. And he knows. But that frustration of his, Sheikh, he says, like similar to those people, when he got really dark in face, shy to show himself, same thing. But the other one goes to the extreme, which is the bury the girl. And he does not go to the extreme, bury the girl. No.
And the divorce
They're not shirk. Some of them. Two big major sins.
she was to give birth to a girl. The word that he said he would be divorced, would that all?
It depends upon if it's a vow, then he has to expiate. Because it's not to fulfill. La wafa'a fi ma'asi. There is no fulfillment of vow if it's a sin. You should not fulfill it. You should expiate it. So if you vowed, for example, to kill somebody, he was not allowed to kill somebody. So you have to expiate that vow. You cannot fulfill it. But if it's to do with ta'ah, man nadara fi ta'ah he has to fulfill it. So this person that I'm going to slaughter 100 camels because of the child, he has to slaughter the camel. 100 camels, he cannot run away by saying, I'll treat it as an oath. Either I feed 10 people, clothe 10 people, or poor, or fast 3 days. You can't do that. It's another, it's not an oath. Another. So another Allah, فَلْيُطِعْ. Prophet said, you will be another to obey Allah, then let him what? Fulfill it. If it's another ma'asiyah, la wafa'a fi nadar ma'asiyah. There's no completion or fulfillment of a vow which is to do with the sinning against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right. Ya Allah. We have the last question.
Regarding the hadith you mentioned the buried and the hellfire, would that mean that the children of the mushrikun are in the hellfire?
No. I think you misquote my words. I would say misunderstood it, but I said that hadith talks about the particular story with that child. He was not, when he died, when she was buried, he was the child. She was an adult. She was an adult, and then they killed her. So the killer and the killed one, they're in hellfire. It's not to do with the children. He misquoted me. So that's coming back. As for the children of the kuffar, we say they are in paradise. That's the right opinion. We don't say they're going to have a special test. No, they are in paradise. The correct way. Because with the hadith of Adam alayhi salam, he had with him in the dream of the Prophet ﷺ, the revelation, he had with him the children of the believers and the children of what? The mushrikeen, the disbelievers. They're in Jannah. So that hadith is to be authentic. And that's what we say, there's no test for them, because they haven't reached the age to be tested. So, awlad al-mushrikeen fil Jannah. Now, as for burial here, of course we bury them with their parents, and then cemetery to the kuffar. Or here maybe they put children on their own, is it? Cemetery. In any five sort of treatment. Now, we bury them with their parents anyway. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك.